Think about someone you know who keeps doing something that makes no sense to you. Maybe they apologize constantly, even when they've done nothing wrong. Maybe they push people away right when a relationship is going well. Maybe they volunteer for the hardest assignments, even when they're already stretched thin and exhausted. You've asked them why. They've given you an explanation. And something about that explanation felt incomplete, like it was true, but not the whole truth. That gap between the explanation someone gives for their behavior and what's actually driving it is what we're going to explore today. Because that gap is one of the most important things you can understand as a writer. And once you know how to find it, you'll see it everywhere. Here's something I want you to hold on to. Every person who has a recurring behavior, something they do again and again across different situations with different people, has two answers for why they do it. The first answer is the one they'd give you if you asked. It's articulate, it's defensible, it might even be partially true. Psychologists sometimes call this the conscious justification, the rationalized, socially acceptable version of what's driving the behavior. The second answer is the one they've never said out loud, maybe never even consciously thought. It's the belief operating so far beneath their awareness that it doesn't feel like a belief at all. It feels like reality, like just the way things are. That second answer is what I call the hidden truth. And the difference between those two answers, between what someone says and what's actually running underneath, is the difference between a character who feels explained and a character who feels real. In cognitive behavioral therapy, practitioners operate from a foundational premise. No behavior is random. Every recurring pattern, no matter how self-defeating or irrational it looks from the outside, makes perfect sense from inside the belief system that produced it. The therapist's job isn't to judge the behavior. It's to reverse engineer the belief that makes it feel necessary. That's the tool I want to give you today. It's a single question. The phrasing matters, so I'll say it slowly. What would this person have to believe about themselves, about other people, or about how the world works for this behavior to feel like the only reasonable response? Not what caused the behavior, not what they feel, what they must believe for the behavior to be not just understandable, but inevitable. That's a precision instrument, and I want to show you exactly how to use it. Before I show you the method in action, I want to name the most common mistake, because it will happen to you, and you need to recognize it when it does. Your first answer to the question will almost always be the conscious justification. It will sound like this. She protects people because she loves them. He stays in control because he cares about quality. She keeps her distance because she's been hurt before. These answers are not wrong, but they're the mask over the thing you're actually looking for. And the mask looks convincing because the person themselves believes it. They're not lying to you. They're telling you what they tell themselves. The hidden truth operates beneath that layer entirely. It's the belief that if you named it out loud to them, they might initially deny, and then quietly recognize. Here's how you know you've broken through. The hidden truth usually has a quality of vulnerability to it. It's not a philosophy. It's not a value. It has an edge of fear or scarcity or loss embedded in it. It's the belief the person would be ashamed to claim or couldn't claim because they've never had the language for it. Let me model the process with a character most people know. Katniss Everdeen from the Hunger Games. Her surface behavior is consistent and specific. She repeatedly steps between danger and the people she loves. She volunteers at the reaping when her sister's name is called. She shields Rue. She keeps Peeta alive. Different situations, different relationships, different stakes. The same compulsive pattern. Now apply the question. What would Katniss have to believe for that behavior to feel like the only reasonable response? First answer, she loves the people she protects. True. Also, the conscious justification. It doesn't explain the compulsion. People love others without repeatedly throwing themselves into the line of fire. Push deeper. What would she have to believe? I'm the only one who can keep them safe. Getting closer. But why does it have to be her? What's underneath that? Keep going. If I don't protect them, no one will, and they will be destroyed. Now we're somewhere. Because that belief, if no one steps up, the people I love will be destroyed, doesn't just explain that she protects. It explains that she can't stop, that she volunteers before she thinks, that she positions herself between danger and others, even when it costs her everything. The belief makes the behavior not just understandable, but compulsory. And look at what it tells you about how Katniss experiences herself. She doesn't feel like a hero stepping forward. She feels like the last line of defense. That's not bravery. That's a burden she never chose to put down. That's the hidden truth. Here's how you verify you found the real thing versus another layer of surface. Take the belief you've identified and complete this sentence. Because I believe blank, I must blank. With Katniss, because I believe no one will protect the people I love if I don't. I must position myself between them and whatever threatens them, every time, regardless of the cost to me. That sentence should feel airtight. The behavior should feel inevitable, given the belief. If you read it and think, well, maybe, keep going. You're still at the level of conscious justification. The lock works when you can't imagine the character doing anything else. When the behavior stops being a choice and starts being a logical consequence of what they believe. That's your test. That's how you... I want to pause here and say something about why this matters. Not just for fiction writers, but for anyone trying to understand human behavior. When you find the hidden truth beneath a recurring behavior, the behavior stops being a character flaw and starts being a survival strategy. It stops looking irrational and starts looking logical. Because from inside the belief system that produced it, it is logical. That shift in perspective is what separates characters who feel constructed from characters who feel real. Real people aren't doing what they do because a writer decided they have trust issues. They're doing it because at some point the world taught them something, and they drew a conclusion that shaped everything that followed. Your job, whether you're a therapist or a novelist or someone trying to understand the people in your own life, is to find that conclusion, that belief, that hidden operating assumption. The behavior is always the evidence. The question is what it's evidence of. Before I close, here are the 4 signs you haven't found the hidden truth yet. 1. The belief sounds like a virtue. She believes in protecting people. He believes in doing things right. Hidden truths have an edge to them. If your answer could go on a motivational poster, keep digging. 2. The belief only partially explains the behavior. The real hidden truth accounts for all instances, including the times the behavior seems excessive or irrational. If it only explains some of them, you're not deep enough yet. 3. The person would readily admit to it. Hidden truths carry charge. They're the belief someone has never fully articulated and would likely resist if you named it directly. If they'd own it comfortably in public, it's still surface. 4. The behavior stops feeling inevitable. Read your causal lock sentence. If you can easily imagine the person choosing differently, given the same belief, the connection isn't tight enough. The hidden truth makes one response feel like the only response. The answer is almost never the first thing you say. Push past the conscious justification. Find the belief that makes the behavior feel not just reasonable, but necessary. Test it with the causal lock. And when that sentence clicks, when the behavior becomes an inevitable consequence of the belief, you'll know you've found it. That's the hidden truth. And once you find it, you'll see your character, or the person you've been observing, completely differently. Not as someone doing something inexplicable, as someone doing the only thing their belief system allows. That understanding is what makes writing feel less like invention and more like excavation.